Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode. So today we're going to be doing a makeover on this Vanity. Now, as you can see, the mirror isn't on it, so we're going to just refer to it as a desk. So we're going to be redoing this desk. It's in decent shape. It's got good solid bones, but it does have veneer missing. It was painted over with some sort of bronze looking paint at some point in the past. So we're going to go and just do a nice little makeover on this desk. So the first thing we do, as always, is we're going to remove the hardware. And I also take the brackets off the back here that were meant to hold the mirror on. And I'm going to wipe the whole thing down with some warm water and Dawn dish soap. And then we go back over it with a clean damp cloth and finish it off with a dry lint-free cloth. And as you can see here, it just has a lot of kind of imperfections, some spots where, people had stuff sitting on it, some missing veneer, some kind of dents. So we're just going to repair as much of that as we can, try to get a decently smooth finish on this piece. I don't want to go real heavy with any distressing or anything in the end. So I want this to kind of look a little more smooth and neat. So I take my orbital sander with 150 grit sandpaper and just start kind of sanding the top down. Now I'm not going to sand this whole thing down to the wood, but I do want to get some of that finish off and get down to some of the spots where, the damage is, so that I have a nice clean surface to fill those in with wood filler. And I also just scuff sand the whole piece at the same time. So scuff sanding is basically, you're just roughing up the surface to create a better texture for your paint to adhere to. And now obviously on this piece, I am breaking through, those different barriers of paint. So we're definitely going to have to prime this piece before we paint it. And then just take a damp cloth and wipe all the dust off from the scuff sand. Now I'm going to use the Bondo wood filler here. You've seen me use this a lot in past projects. It's basically the two parts, the base and the hardener that you add. And you kind of just mix it around, get it nice and fully mixed. And just go to town filling in all the spots. Now thankfully it's been getting a lot cooler here, so the Bondo isn't drying quite as fast as when it's really hot out, but it still does dry pretty quick, so you have to make sure you're working fast and don't mix more than you can use in a really short amount of time. And I also apply some to the drawers here just because the knobs that were previously on it at some point in the past kind of created some circle marks that were indented around the holes. So I kind of just fill those in and get a nice smooth surface on them. And I also just kind of do a little work on the legs here. I'm not looking to make them perfect, but I just want to fill in some of the scratches and gouges that are on them and kind of round them off a little bit. And then I just sand everything smooth. And as you can see on the drawers here, I did fill in the holes as well, just because it was easier to do at the time when applying that. I'll just have to re-drill them, it's no big deal. And now you've seen me use this the past few projects. I'm just using this Rust-Oleum primer spray and just giving this thing a nice coat, making sure we have a nice primer layer on the bottom so our paint sticks and we prevent any bleed through. And again, I mentioned it before, the credit for this idea comes from Busted to Buffed. I saw him use this and we gave it a try a couple projects back, and it does work really well. And just that brown underlayment, when you do a little bit of distressing here and there, it just looks more natural than a white or anything like that. So it's easy to apply, it goes a long way, and the brown is a nice color for underneath. And now to get a nice smooth top, I just take a really high grit sandpaper. I think I'm using 1000 grit here, just to go over the top and kind of smooth it out. And then I just take a lint-free rag and wipe the dust away. And so for this project, we figured we'd break the paint sprayer out and give it a shot. This is our first time using this particular paint in a sprayer, but we figured we'd give it a try. With it getting a little bit colder out now, I wanted to get this project done a lot quicker, and I knew the paint sprayer would allow us to do that. But this paint, this mango chalk paint, really sprayed nicely. It got a nice smooth finish to it. It was a really nice paint to spray, so I was really happy with the way it went on. And as with most paints, I did have to water it down just a little bit to make sure it sprayed nicely. And then I go back with a second coat and spray the whole thing and get nice coverage. And then before I apply the top coat, I just take a sanding block and kind of sand everything nice and smooth, get the top sanded smooth. And again, admittedly, there wasn't a whole lot to kind of smooth out because this went on really nicely. But I also did a little bit of distressing at the same time. I didn't want to go heavy with the distressing, just kind of hit some of the details and give it a little bit of character and dimension. And again, wipe all the dust off. And now I'm going to spray the polyacrylic top coat. Now this admittedly didn't go as well as I had planned. In fact, I kind of botched it for a few reasons. I think one, it was a little bit too cold to be spraying the polyacrylic. So it wasn't laying down quite right. And the other reason is because I admittedly forgot to turn the knob down on my sprayer from when I was painting. You should turn it down a little bit lower so you don't have so much of the polyacrylic coming out. And I just started tearing into it and kind of applying it before I really realized that it was coming out so heavy. A lot due to the lighting. I couldn't see exactly how it was laying down until I hit a certain point. So I had to put a full stop to the spraying and break out a brush real quick and flatten some of the spots out where it went on really heavy. So I kind of just finished up real quick by, brushing it out and kind of smoothing over those spots. But moral of the story is, make sure you always check your sprayer settings. And to prepare for a second coat of poly, I just take a sanding sponge here and just kind of go over everything, smooth it out. Again, you want to use a really light grit for this as well. And you don't want to push hard at all, you just want to kind of take some of the roughness off. And as you can see here, I did have a little bit of bleed through. Even with the primer, I may not have hit it enough on that side. I don't know why it bled through with that, good coverage of primer, but it did. So what I'm going to do is go back with clear shellac and just kind of spray that over, and then we're going to put another coat of paint on. And after I sprayed this coat of paint on and covered that up, I did go back over with some clear coat and sealed that up again. And now I just go back and kind of clean everything up, sand around the drawers here, get some of that paint overspray out, get it as clean as I can. And I go back and re-drill the holes for the knobs. Now we did kind of toss around the idea of which knobs we wanted to use. We were going to use the original white knobs without those backing plates on that made it look dated. But then we kind of tossed around the idea of doing some glass ones too. We ended up going with the original white ones, but we're still not sure what we're going to keep on it. So I want to hear what you guys think. Leave a comment below which one you would pick for this piece. If you'd go with the glass or if you'd go with the original white knobs like we did. I'm interested to see what you guys think. And as I usually do, I'm just going to use some Howard's Feed and Wax and just rub these drawers down. Kind of covers up the scratches nicely. It gives it a nice rich finish. And it also smells really good. It's just kind of a nice finishing touch to a piece. So just as a reminder, here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like after. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I think this piece turned out pretty nice. I think it'll be perfect for, a little girl's room or something. I know my daughter would probably love this in her room. We just don't have the place to put it. But, we wanted to do something a little bit different than we normally do and use a different color. And, I think it turned out pretty nice. And I think the pink, definitely fit this piece. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button before you leave. We'd love to see you stick around. And until next time, make sure you check out some of our other videos.